support the motion say aye, and those who are against the motion say nay. The ayes have it.
Hello and welcome to the program. I am Dennis Adigunloye. Matters of security once again featured prominently during the week in the Senate. And in what has been a major topic of discourse among Nigerians, the lawmakers condemned what they described as the horrific murders of officers and soldiers in Ukwama community in Delta State while on a peace mission. They say those responsible must be apprehended and made to pay for this heinous act.
The Senate finds whereas the recent tragic incident in Ukwama community, Bomadi local government area of Delta State, on Thursday, 14th March 2024, resulting in the loss of a commanding officer, a lieutenant colonel, 2 majors, a captain, and 12 soldiers during a peace mission, highlights a serious threat to national security and stability of the nation. Troops of 181 Amphibious Battalion, while on a peace mission to Ukwama community in Bomadi local government area of Delta State, were surrounded by some community youths and killed on Thursday, 14th, 2024. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, they were not only killed, but their bodies were also decapitated. The unfortunate incident occurred when the troops responded to a distress call after the communal crisis between the Ukwama and Okoloba communities, both in Delta State. Recognizes that the tragic incident involving the attack on military personnel from the 181 Amphibious Battalion during a peace mission to Ukwama community in Delta State underscores the urgent need for justice and accountability without resorting to retribution. Worried that the understaffing of the Nigerian police has made Nigeria's military to take over internal policing duties such as organized crime, oil theft, communal crisis, kidnapping, banditry, and other policing responsibilities. Acknowledges the gravity of the recent attacks on military personnel, recognizing their impact on national security and peace, and emphasizing the need for meticulous engagement with civilian communities and regions to foster mutual understanding. Recalls that the Defense Headquarters reported in August 2023 the loss of 36 military personnel in Niger State, underscoring the persistent challenges faced by our armed forces in carrying out their duties. Notes the importance of caution, robust civilian engagement, and fostering strong military-civilian relations is crucial in understanding the root causes of such incidents and ensuring a peaceful resolution. Underscores that there is a critical requirement for a more streamlined and deliberate collaboration between the armed forces and law enforcement agencies on one side and the Nigerian populace and communities on the other. This collaboration is essential to foster trust, enhance security measures, and promote a sense of shared responsibility in preventing such tragedies in the future. The Senate therefore resolves to observe a minute silence in honor of those military personnel who lost their lives on Thursday, 14th March in Ukwama community, Delta State. Urge the federal government to ensure that those responsible for this heinous crime are identified, apprehended, and brought to face the full consequences of their actions through a fair and transparent legal process. Urge the federal government to hasten the recruitment and training of more police personnel to take up policing responsibilities while the Nigerian Army play their primary role in the affairs of the country. Urge the federal government to embark on an enlightenment campaign to sensitize the public on their civic responsibilities as it affects their relationship with security agencies. I so move, Mr. President.
Mr. President, Nigeria this is crunch time for our country, and we must always ensure that whatever thing that we're doing, we must be tolerant with one another. A situation where this number of soldiers will be killed in one swap is highly regrettable. Soldiers are meant to protect the life and property of our citizenry. And even the communities themselves are supposed to have tolerance in dealing with such issues. But I must commend the prompt action of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for signing a personal press release, which is signed by himself. That press release is signed by himself, to some large extent, has brought peace and tranquility in that area. And we must also commend the military for not going for a reprisal attack because of what Mr. President did on that fateful day. So I am of the opinion that we must have tolerance. We must tolerate one another. The military cannot, they don't even have they don't have the power to even go and start killing innocent persons. That will not be accepted. So long as that will not be accepted, we will also not accept a situation where people will also attack and kill the military. So this is a very sensitive issue, Mr. President. It is very sensitive, and we must handle it in the manner that it will not escalate.
Where we wake up to hear about the killing of soldiers by any community in the course of their normal duties is very worrisome. And I know if the entire Senate is very concerned, the society itself is concerned, we may just go into our prayers to look at how far we can go in terms of recommendations for necessary actions to assuage all the parties concerned. But let me give a few opportunities for people to pursue solutions and also condemn this dastardly act, because these people are our brothers and sisters, their fathers, their uncles, and they are Nigerians. Distinguished Senator Dixon.
What I want to say by way of advice is that because we will, after commiserating with the military, with our country and the families, we may have to conduct an inquiry. Because of that, I will advise that we don't portion any blame this way or that way. What I mean is, we are yet to know, this Senate is yet to know, the totality of facts that we are dealing with, and the further escalations that is also that we are also seeing. So I think it's appropriate for this Senate to commiserate with our country, and in particular the armed forces and the families affected, and also, as Senator Dafinon rightly said, also commiserate with the families of innocent locals involved. And then we direct an inquiry, direct the appropriate committees to go into this matter and then give us a full report. Let's know what really happened. Let's know what really happened. So, Mr. President, that's what I can say on, there is a situation unfolding as we speak in Bayelsa. I'm sure as time goes by, as the days goes by, we'll also know what is going on. But all in all, it's a terrible development, a very sad day for our country and our country's military. A lieutenant colonel, 2 majors, and others died in one fell swoop. It's a very sad loss. And we commiserate, and it's appropriate for us to commiserate with them and direct an inquiry. Thank you.
Something inhuman, something that cannot be accepted. By all standards, is bad. I don't know how to explain it, but we need to commiserate with the Nigerian Armed Forces and indeed the entire Nigerians. Condole the immediate families, and of course, the Nigerian military for what happened. These were men that were trained by the Nigerian government, money spent on them to defend, to keep us safe as a nation. Now, they were killed for no reason. What happened is inhuman, and no stone should be left unturned in trying to find out these culprits, those who are responsible, and they must face justice. They must face justice, and this should never happen again in this country. Where, you see, the military is doing their best. They are doing their best, trying to deal with the kidnappers, trying to deal with bandits, and so on and so forth, trying to make us safe, keep us safe. Now some people decided to go and murder these people. So I think it's something that we should all condemn, and we should try to provide solutions. And I feel glad that the Senate President spoke the way he did to clearly, let the world know that what happened is not proper, it's not good. And I think others should also join him. More time should be given. I know several senators want to speak on this. More time should be given for people to speak, to condemn what happened. And until we go to the prayer, when we go to the prayers, we should, all of us, couch, prayers that will assuage the feelings of the families of those that were murdered, and indeed, the Nigerian armed forces. We need to be by their side at this moment of grief, and we should stand for them. We should normally, we are always with them, but particularly in this period, where soldiers that were on duty were murdered for no reason. Mr. President, let's go. I think if anybody wants to speak, maybe we should speak. If there's a chance, all of us should speak to condemn what happened. Mr. President, submit.
And of course, join our colleagues who spoke earlier. This is a great loss to our country, Mr. President. And what our military needs from us citizens is support at all times. They are spread everywhere in Nigeria. And all they try to do is to keep us safe, to keep Nigeria intact, and they deserve our support. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, what happened in Delta was not an accident. It was a designed and well-orchestrated effort to kill our military men. And it was done in a very barbaric way, very bestial. Mr. President, those who did that deserve to be condemned. I agree that we need to set up a committee to help with the investigation, working with our military authorities. But I believe that this Senate, and indeed the National Assembly, should also be looking at the direction of reducing our military from conducting police actions and activities. How do you do that? I believe we must insist on getting more and more policemen to be recruited. Just like we also need more military to be recruited. Because I believe that some of the issues the military are called to attend to are issues that can be handled by police. So with this, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I would also recommend that this Senate, when it sets up the committee to investigate, let the result of the investigation leaves no one in doubt
what we are supposed to give as a legislature. How do we work with the executive arm of government to ensure that within a year or two, that the fortunes of our military and indeed the police are changed in terms and areas of recruitment, training, retraining, and their welfare. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
If we are observing a minute's silence for the soldiers that were brutally murdered in this fracas, I believe also the innocent civilians in Okwama should also be recognized in a similar way. I emphasize the innocent civilians, sir. So my amendment, sir, would be that we observe a minute's silence also for those innocent civilians. Thank you, Mr. President.
Prayer to urge the federal government to ensure that those responsible for this heinous crime are identified, apprehended, and brought to face the full wrath of the law. Those in support of prayer to say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the federal government to hasten the recruitment and training of more police personnel to take up the job of policing responsibilities while the Nigerian army plays its primary role in the affairs of the country. Those in support of this prayer 3 say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, urge the federal government to embark on an enlightenment campaign to sensitize the public on their civic responsibilities as it affects their relationship with security agencies. Those in support of prayer 4 say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. It's a very sad development. I think the Senate awaits the outcome of the investigations. So I'll urge the committees on defense, committee on army, committee on navy, and the committee on air force combined to liaise with the military to find out, to obtain for first hand for us the outcome of the investigation on in respect of these dastardly killings. As we are very concerned, we know that the investigation is already ongoing by the military. There is no amount of investigation we can do that will be better than what they are already doing. By the time the whole thing is established, we will know whether the people who were killed as a result of community conflict or as a result of external forces. Whatever we have condemned, and we are not happy. No Nigerian is happy over this incident. So, my dear colleagues, can we rise to observe a minute silence in honor of those who were murdered? May the souls of our gallant soldiers who were murdered in very horrific circumstances in cold blood in Okwama community of Delta State in the course of carrying out their civic responsibilities rest in perfect peace.
And the Senate has urged members of the public to volunteer information as it investigates the killing of the officers and soldiers in Delta State. Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa and other service chiefs were at the National Assembly Wednesday as the Senate's Joint Committee on Defense, Army, Navy, as well as Air Force opened the investigation into the tragic incident. The Joint Committee extends condolences to President Bola Tinubu and the armed forces over the loss, restating commitment to do all it takes to ensure that this never happens again.
We in the Senate and indeed the National Assembly will always support our military. in whatever way we can. I will take this opportunity to commend our armed forces for doing so much with so little that we can always afford. We hope we can do better, and we are very, very prayerful and confident that resources will be better going forward.
Now on financial matters, the Senate has extended the implementation of the 2023 Appropriation Act and the supplementary budget to June 30th, 2024. The legislators granted accelerated passage to the bills as requested by President Bola Tinubu.
These extensions are necessary to ensure that the provisions of the acts are exhaustively implemented.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, read the communications at the commencement of plenary, after which the request received expeditious consideration.
The request came from the President today, necessary to get these bills passed. This will give the chance for all those projects, those vital national projects that their implementations have so far started to get completed.
The President also transmitted to the Senate a bill seeking prescription of salaries and other emoluments for judicial officers in tune with economic realities for consideration and passage. Plenary featured the second reading of 3 bills, including the bill that seeks amendments to the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act to include the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in surveillance and prevention of money laundering in Nigeria.
Provide an upper threshold for reporting suspicious transactions and to expand the scope of matters that reporting entities can consider.
Senate has passed the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act Amendment Bill to ensure seamless implementation. The motion from Senator Idiato Laurenti seeking collective efforts to tackle the challenge of out-of-school children in Nigeria was supported.
Urge governments at all levels to implement targeted intervention programs that will address all the factors militating against free access to quality and basic education, particularly multidimensional poverty and insecurity.
Any society that neglects or relegates education to the background does so at the risk of its own peril.
There was this concept of nomadic education. That concept would have saved what we are seeing today as banditry. But along the line, a lot of politics came up, and it was disbanded.
We urge the appropriate agency or department to publish, as I know they used to do, but this time to make it in newspapers, state by state, including FCT, the percentage of out-of-school children. So we can see the governors and the states that are more guilty of this.
Senate also paid tribute to the late Olubadan.
Oba Dr. Mahmoud Lekan Balogun, the 42nd Olubadan of Ibadan land, a revered monarch and a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
To all of us, he was a father like none.
May the soul of Oba Dr. Mahmoud Lekan Balogun, the Olubadan of Ibadan, rest in perfect peace.
And outside of plenary, the National Assembly will collaborate with the Nigerian Bar Association in the ongoing constitution review process. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, in an audience with the leadership of the NBA, says the exercise is to further tinker with existing laws to bring them in line with current realities and to make them consistent with what obtains globally.
The world has moved fast. Some of our laws are very anachronistic, and then some of them are analog, as you are aware, and then some do not meet the aspirations of today. So the problems of 1960 in terms of security are not the same problems today. the world is moving fast, and so the law must move along with it. So that kind of synergy that we want to establish through that retreat, or through the stakeholders forum, or through the town hall meeting with security agencies, and will really help us to understand each other and know that we are all servants in the temple of justice.
We've noticed that amongst the legal practitioners in the country, across the country, and the law enforcement agencies, there has been this rift, if you like, but then it all stems out of perhaps the understanding of our primary call, both as law enforcement agencies, as lawyers. We invite the heads of security agencies so that we can have that parley. Let the law enforcement agencies as well as lawyers, because some of us too need to be educated with respect to the things that we are primarily called to do, so that we see synergy in the things that we do, and we can help move the process of the growth that the government of this country desires.
Well, that brings us to the end of the program. I am Dennis at Digun Loye. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.